Well, it's a lovely evening here in England and it's sort of late spring, and I've now got the backstrap off that fallow deer that I butchered the other day, and we'd call it the centre cut loin, and beautiful piece of meat, not a huge animal but absolutely delicious. And he's had 3 or 4 days hanging. Robbo expertly skinned him for us. I butchered it, and now this is the result. And I'm going to make a really summery dish with it. So to get straight in, I'm going to make a ratatouille to go with my venison. So I've got a nice hot pan here with some oil, and in it I'm going to just add some garlic, like so. There we are, nice coarse chunky garlic. And then in with some aubergine or eggplant, like that. And you notice I've cut these reasonably small, and that is because I want it to cook quickly. And then I've also got here some chorizo, spicy Spanish sausage with paprika, and that will release its oils, give us an amazing flavour. So it's quite a decadent little ratatouille. This ratatouille is one of the most delicious things. Classic Provençal, southern French. Loads of olive oil there. Now I've got some mixed peppers and courgettes. So there we go. This one's confusing if you're English or American, because we call these red peppers, or you call them bell peppers. Then we've got aubergines, which I think are eggplant, and courgette, which is zucchini. So I'm sort of translating between languages. Right, in goes the rest of that. Delicious. The final couple of ingredients, I'm just going to add a handful of these beautiful sweet little cherry tomatoes, and I'm going to season it up with some nice loads of pepper. So tasty. I'm going to throw in a little bunch of rosemary I've just picked from over there in the garden, and also oregano. And I'm going to leave them on the stalk so I can pick them out later in one piece. A little splash of wine. This is rosé. And I'm going to let this little summery ratatouille cook inside on the hob while I grill my meat. So it's going to have about 15 minutes cooking. I want all the vegetables quite fresh. I want loads of flavour. And this will be a beautiful little base for our sliced fillet of venison. Great, my ratatouille is cooking away really nicely. Now I've got this glorious, decadent centre cut fillet or loin of young fallow deer. And that fallow deer is almost exactly a year old, so very, very tender. I'm just going to make a little glaze or marinade, I suppose. And I'm using Dijon mustard, okay, in a little pot. And excitingly, this honey was harvested this morning from the beehives in the field next to ours. So this is the very first ever honey harvest from the year. Raw, beautiful honey, still with bits of comb in it. Oh, I'm gonna pour in a sort of equal amount of honey to mustard and mix it up really well. Yummy. Right, now I've got my skewers. I love these skewers, and I bought these on the internet, but these are big skewers, and these are the sort of skewers that are used in Middle Eastern cookery. And they're really intelligently thought out because they're big skewers. They translit heat well, and so when the actual metal gets hot, it cooks the meat from the inside. It's quite smart. And I'm going to cook this over direct heat rather than letting it rest on the bars. So I'm going to take my fillets here. I'm going to push my skewers through the length of them to come out like one end there. Lovely. There, and that means I can be turning my fillet like that, and the heat will be transmitting throughout. I'm not going to put the glaze on just yet. I'm going to put a little bit of beautiful olive oil, keep it simple, use my rosemary to brush it on. So, same on the other side. Lovely. Seasoning, of course. Venison and black pepper are great friends. They just, the flavours just work so well together. So I'm putting lots of black pepper. It's kind of a peppered venison loin, this. And then some of my beautiful Ibiza sea salt. This fleur de sel. Gorgeous. Oh, hello. Okie dokie, now over to the grill. So we're going to pop that like so over the grill, and I'm going to let that direct heat roast it, and I can just flip these over because there's two of them. It'll sit nicely. I can flip these over and just roast it, roast it, roast it. I can lift it up a little, just play with it. And I'm going to cook this quite gently. The heat's beautiful. The coals are white. Look at that. Seconds that took. Ooh. Okay, so I'm going to give it another few seconds on this side. It's feeling to me like it's getting quite nicely cooked. I'm going to lift that up a little. Just elevate it just to keep the heat down a little bit.
Flame grilled.
Now I'm going to cook with some indirect heat to finish it off so it's not too fierce. So I've pushed the charcoal over to one side. I've moved the meat away from it, and I can start glazing it with my beautiful glaze. So, okay, so put some of this on. Oh gosh, it's hot. Glaze it, turn it. Okay, little blast over high heat just to cook that glaze out. So while my fillet is resting, because resting's so important, when meat's hot you need to let those fibres relax. Just a better product all round. I've gone and got my ratatouille here, which is absolutely gorgeous. Olive oil, all those vegetables, the tomatoes are cooked down. It tastes sensational. I'm really happy with it.
It does. It smells really good.
Here is some new season's asparagus that one of my wonderful suppliers for the Woodsman restaurant, George, sent me from his amazing market garden Mudwalls farm in Warwickshire, and it's stunning. And so it's now time to carve. So let's get this off. So I'm going to use the back of the knife, and I'm going to push the meat off the skewers. And I'm going to carve it into nice, oh hello, lovely spring ratatouille. And pop some of this gorgeous asparagus over there, and this asparagus has been charcoal grilled, and there we have it. Gorgeous light spring supper, wild venison. And for those people who think venison's only to be eaten in the winter, you're just wrong. It's amazing at this time of year. Some char-grilled asparagus, gorgeous little small cut ratatouille. Right, I've got to eat it. Let's try it. Honestly, if I could only ever eat more than one meat in the world for the rest of my life, it would be fallow deer. I love it so much. It's just too delicious. It's so tender, it falls apart in the mouth. I love cooking over charcoal and wood. It just gives you such satisfaction, and you can make really classy dishes very easily.